Hello everybody, I know everybody is struggling at the moment, but let's be honest. All my channel this week is about mind, body and soul connection. It's about bringing it all together, which is in my meditation. It is what I have been doing for the last 10 years and came about as a gift for the world, bringing nature and the balance of the body and the mind and the soul, putting unconditional love into the body. So I'm going to channel that today. I think that's what they're trying to say. Oneness is the cure. And I've been really producing this sort of like oneness is the cure statement for years, never realising that it really is about 2021. And this is what happens to me. I get these information 6 months, a year, 2 years before the information, and I start sharing it, and everybody just like doesn't resonate with anybody because they're not in that space or time to understand it sometimes. And I'm not saying that I'm a spiritual guru or something like that. It's not that. I'm a simple-minded person who likes simple information, and then to see all the connections and how it all comes about. So this was really something that I want to share with you, is that all the work I've done, all the work of understanding about energies, past life, traumas, what is our life about, our spiritual path, our spiritual journey, the awakening, the next level awakening, it all is just information that kept being fed to me through quotes, through channeling. So today really is about that you've got to link them all together, because separate, they're toxic. The mind is obviously giving you information of lack and what's not flowing in the body. Your soul is trying to guide you, but it can't get past the body because the body is rejecting half of the information that's coming through. The body wants love, so it can neutralize this negativity, so you can flow. Because if you ever seen that program where they actually put vibrations into water, you can see what the difference is from hate to love. But you imagine your body's 75% water, so all day long you're absorbing negativity, hate. You're detaching yourself from your connection because what's going on. You're looking to complete yourself. You're looking to become one with yourself. And last year was really about self-reflection, looking within, connecting with yourself and understanding, your part to play and who you are. And I don't think a lot of people got that information. And so they're not prepared themselves for 2021, which is oneness is the cure. In everything is the energy. And so when we learn to actually feed our core energy with the similar vibration, we then reflect into the world. And then we start to attract those who reflect it back. At the moment, because our bodies are toxic through the foods, the drinks, through people, through media, our body is absorbing and stressing the body out. And so what we're feeding is this overload of negativity. Then it's triggering our insecurities and our fears. And so now we are, we're getting so sort of like caught up in everything. Everything winds it up, but everything's causing us anxiety. And then we start to blame the anxiety or the panic attacks or the fears or the worries or what's winding us up. And then we're just feeding it more. And this is what's happening. So the mind, body and soul is so important at the moment. I cannot stress, if you could do my 10-minute meditation every day, you will see the difference, as I've seen the difference. And from a person who sometimes doesn't always get good sleep, but at the moment I am, which is incredible really, then I know what it's like to be aggravated by everything. If I go for a kip in the afternoon because I've eaten certain foods that clears the things and makes balance in my body, sometimes I get sent to sleep so the body can repair itself because it's got the stuff that it needs to. But when I wake up, oh my God, I'm not just a bear with a sore head. Everything winds me up. So I do understand this. I do understand being in that sort of like moment. But thankfully, for most of my life, because of meditations and everything I've created, I'm lucky enough that I'm at peace at most of the time. But I'm still get caught up. I mean, the injustice at the moment, the stupid lockdowns, all these sort of things that are just creating such havoc with ourselves, our mental health. I mean, even myself, who meditates every day. And thankfully, I was able to get out and be at the seaside this morning, Otherwise, being locked in, being hemmed in, it's just not good for anybody. You've got to have that balance of nature to clear you out and get you rejuvenated and ready for energy again. So, yeah, it's been certainly a testing time. But if you connect more with your mind, body and soul, then you're in the oneness, you're in the connection with the universe, and then you're not going to accept as much negativity into your life. And this is the key to it all. You can't be the perfect energy all the time. I've realised that. Because then how do you get balance? If you haven't got negativity and positivity comes together, then how are you going to get the balance? So sometimes you've got to understand this, and that's why we're drawn out of it, or we're triggered with our traumatic past lives and our lessons and the path we've chosen, and that's why we're not flowing all the time, and we're always thinking of lack and we're not good enough and this, that and the other, because it's only those times where we're separated, those times we're not enjoying, those times we're not at peace, is when the ego sort of sets in, and we start to think about that we're not good enough and we'll never find people or sharing experiences with others, which is that's why we're human beings here. So the mind, body and soul. So let's break it down. The body needs love. That's why you're attracted to certain foods. That's why you're attracted to certain situations. Because when it gets unconditional love into the body, or love into the body, it neutralizes and helps the flow of the body. If we're dehydrated, we'll stop the flow of the body. So then we can't link as much to the universe and everything. Alright, you're starting to see the picture? Your mind is just trying to solve the problems of the body. So if you're absorbing all the negativity in the body, or somebody else's negativity, or hassles and one thing and another, the mind will then give you situations to realise that you're just separating from the moment. You're separating from who you are. And so that's why you're starting to feel all this agitated stuff, and it's starting to affect you. So consistently, the body is sending to the mind. And the mind is thinking. It's thinking thoughts of lack. So that to recognise that we're vibrating lack. We've got this energy of lacking with us. We're not at peace with ourselves. We're fighting ourselves within. We're not connected to our core energy. And our core energy is neutral. So it's what we feed it, it becomes. If we're absorbing all this toxic stuff and negativity all the time, then our core energy is becoming toxic and negative. And that is then having an effect on our minds, our body, and also the soul. Now, the soul is connected to every moment that you've been to, places you've been to. There's an aspect of your soul there. And the reason why it's there for is for lessons, for learning. That's how you can tap into what you've experienced, what you've gone through. But also there's an energy attached to that. So I regularly cleanse my soul. I regularly bring it back as one and connect it with myself. Even though it's still teaching me and still guiding me. Your soul will attract certain people. And depending on your vibration, depends on what you need or your guidance and what your path is. Because of choice of free will, we're not always choosing the path that we're born to do. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing, but it can be the reason why we're not always flowing and we're not in the right frame of mind half the time. So once you understand this, and it's very hard for the soul to guide you when you're not listening, because the soul guidance is basically stuff that comes out of nowhere, like, oh, give such and such a call, or go to such and such a place, or look at that book, or watch that video, or do this, that and the other. And because our body is so much in pain and negativity, it doesn't want to do that. It's like, then it allows the ego in, and the ego is like, why do you want to do that? You're not going to get any benefit out of that. You're not going to get nothing out of doing that. Do you know what I mean? All selfish and all self-centered and everything like that. So this is why I say to you, when you link the mind, body and soul together, you get a different perspective on life. You get a different mindset. You can see the bigger picture. You can see the connections to where that vibration came from, or what you created, or your conditioning in life, or your childhood, or your past life, or what is trapped on the body and what's not flowing on the body. All these things are all connected. So when you get into the mind, body and soul, you go into, like we call, the automatic flow. At that level, we don't have fears and doubts and worries and everything like that, because we're not in the energy of it. You've got to imagine, you were born like this great energy, like the ocean, and you're now in a puddle. I say this is my way of telling people. And in this puddle, you've just got all this dirt and horribleness, and it's limited, and you can't experience as much, and but you're part of the ocean. So there's this calling to be part of the ocean again. Your inner core is part of everything. So when you say, oh, I can't have this, why? Because you're connected to everything. It's only because you're vibrating not to have it, not to have stuff in life, because it might not bring you peace, or it might not be for your journey. But you still have a choice and free will. That's where it all goes pear-shaped, really, let's be honest. Because we're not choosing. We're choosing to try and be like other people. We're choosing to try and be like millionaires. We're choosing to try and, I don't know, be perfect bodies, and like some girl who was born with a perfect body, but then has other faults that she having to deal with, or a person, I've been through all those stages. I've gone from the fittest I've ever been to basically, I snapped my Achilles, which stopped me from training because I was overtraining, do you know what I mean, sort of thing. And then at 40, I thought, right, I've got to get back down to my ideal weight. I got back to a really good weight and everything like that. And then what happened? Some emotional stuff happened, and my other leg started to cause pain. And I thought, oh God, and it frightened me to death, because, it meant that I might snap again, and the other one might snap, because the left one was now compensating for the right one. And when I slapped the left one, I couldn't walk properly for 2 years. So then the fear of not being able to walk and not being able to do anything, and, so I had to give up training. Then blood pressure and everything started to kick in, and then the doctor would, say, but it was funny really, because at 40, I had the high blood pressure. I got down to 13 stone, nearly 12 and a half actually. And then I went to the doctors, and they were like, your blood pressure's still high. And then, and I was like, but I'm fit as can be. Oh yeah, brilliant energy, everything, And it's funny, because even this size, when I go and have my test done, they look at it and they can't understand that my energy system is very good. It doesn't relate to me being overweight. But the problem was now is that I started to, my body doesn't get rid of the food. So there's a whole different complex that I've had to get into, and it might be down to lectins now, and leaky gut and all sorts of things, and which is the bacteria that's actually making me this way, because it means I can absorb more negativity, and of course I wanted to get into the connection. I wanted to get into a better connection, and I ended up with a sleeping disorder, because I was connected all night and all day, because 114 times an hour I stopped breathing. So I was connected to the spirit world all the time, and so my body couldn't repair itself. So it's fascinating. Your body is so powerful, so be very careful. When you're in your mindset, be very careful of what you think about and what you order. And if you think it's something that doesn't feel right with you, put it in a box. Deal with it. Don't allow it to manifest. Because that's what happened to me. I was frightened of being overweight. I trained 3 hours a day. I got so fit. And 7 times I've lost the weight again. I always put it back on, and and 7 times. And I just haven't got the mindset anymore, because it's soul destroying when you get back down to your perfect weight and this, that and the other. It didn't help me relationships, because I ended up attracting, no disrespect to some of my girlfriends, but I did attract some crazy women, you know what I mean? So, I did better when I was a bit heavier, sort of thing. I attracted nicer women, sort of thing. Oh, what a weird world we live in, sort of thing. But like I say to you, it's all this connection. So stop calling yourself names. Stop saying you've got this disorder, or you've got this and you've got that, because all you're doing is you're fueling it. The reason why you have an imbalance in the body is because you're disease of the body, a dis-ease of the body. Do you know what I mean? That you have there. If I didn't have the certain things, then I wouldn't be the person I am in some respects. But it's only society is telling me what I should be. Then what's society doing? Changing who they are, changing their part to play, which means they get less of the ocean and more of the puddle. You see what I mean? They get more. They get less of the. They limit their lives because they're not having a natural way to release this energy, because they're not connecting to nature. They're not connecting to the universe. They're not connecting to the mind and body and soul. When you do that, then the world changes. There's no fears and doubts. There's no worries. It's a whole different thing. So the body is just wants love, and it'll get it in any way. So it might be the food you like, it might be people, it might be situations, it might be through the enjoyment of life. You love what you're doing. You're being in love with love, and then you can attract it easier. Yeah. The mind is just there's so much overload negativity in the body, toxic bodies and everything like that. The mind is consistently trying to get rid of this stuff. And so it's creating anxieties and panic attacks and everything, because they're instant releases. Anger and one thing or another, they're instant releases because you've held on to this energy and it's too much for the body. And so the body's like frightened to death that it's not going to be working anymore. So it sends all these messages to the brain. And then you've got the soul. The soul can't help you because you're not helping yourself. You're too busy saying that you are these things, you are these problems, you are these issues. And so you're caught up in a never-ending cycle that you've created. You weren't born these ways. Yes, maybe the conditioning, maybe your upbringing, maybe your environment meant that there were certain things, but you can, if you created it, you can uncreate it. And when you understand that, you don't attach yourself to things, because that's what it is. We attach to our issues. We attach to blaming somebody. We attach to all these things. We're feeding all this negativity in the world. The reason why the world is the way it is because of what we fed it. Because we're caught up in the illusion that if we're rich, we'll be happy. If we find the perfect partner, we'll be happy. Because our experience is what it's all about. Our experience and our connection is what it's all about. But now that's even been deprived. So now we're struggling. Mentally, physically, emotionally. Our senses are being blocked. Our chakras are being blocked. Just one of your chakras out of line affects the rest of them. Imagine that. Your whole energy system, your core energy, that's next to your heart and the diaphragm, that's the core energy for everything and every person and every situation. That's being polluted. And so even our links to other people are being polluted. And so it's time for oneness to secure. Time to bring the mind, body and soul in alignment, so that we can experience the majority of the time peace and harmony and happiness, and being in the automatic flow of life and being on our spiritual path. I'm not saying you have to be spiritual. I'm saying that you've chosen a journey to go on, and when you're not doing that journey, you're not experiencing who you're meant to be. Everybody has their own journey. Stop trying to be other people's journeys. There's a reason why you're doing your journey. You've chosen a part to play. You know, you've chosen your seat in a big auditorium. That is just your seat. Nobody else can be that seat, and nobody else can be you. They're not meant to be, because you have a part. It's like the workings of a clock. Every little bit goes together to make perfect harmony, and that's what we're not doing at the moment. So I'm going to be doing loads more of stuff on mind, body and soul to help you. After my 10-year journey of soul searching and everything, these are all the things that came up. The connection to enlightenment. We are already enlightened. We have this wisdom within us. Everybody can tap into it. Whether you do or not is up to you. And then you realise that everything is part of the journey. Everything comes to make a whole universe, so good and bad. But if we're feeding the bad, that's all we're going to be experiencing.